All right, hey guys. So today's lesson is over calculating tip. Now, this is a super good example of how you can really use math and simple math actually in everyday life. Um, so some of you might not be old enough to like pay bills on your own, or like when you go out to eat, you're not paying your restaurant bill. But this is an easy way that you could help your parents out some, and they would be extremely impressed with you. All you'd have to ask them is, hey mom, hey dad, hey grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, whoever, how much do you want to tip the waiter? And this is exactly how you can do it. So today I'm going to teach you the long way and a shortcut. Now, please be aware the shortcut only works for things in the tens place. So a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. It has to have that zero in the ones place. It only works for the 10, 20, 30, 40 things in the tens place. The long way works for any percent. Doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 11, 42%, anything, any of the weird numbers or not even numbers like this. The long way will work for that every time. So we'll just hop right in. So with the long way, I'm going to show you the long way and then we'll do the shortcut. So the long way, your bill is $35.46 and you want to tip 10%. So the way you do this is you have to change this percent to a decimal. And the way you do that is you move your decimal point over, because this is a whole number, your decimal goes at the very, very end. You move it over 2 places, and that's where your new decimal is. So this 10% actually turns into 0.10, okay? And then all you do is multiply your total bill times 0.10. And with multiplication, I like to put my bigger number on top because it makes things a lot easier. Now, this part is what takes so long. However, you can use a calculator, friends. I am totally okay with that. You can use a calculator. And then we're going to add these up, but I am going to put it over here so I don't run into this next example. We get 3, 5, 4, 6, 0. Now, just a quick little reminder that when we're multiplying with decimals, you multiply just like normal as if we were dealing with whole numbers or whatever the case may be. You don't deal with moving decimals until the very, very end. So we're at the end. This is our answer. We count how many spaces behind the decimal we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how many spaces I move my decimal to the left. So starting at the very end, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes my answer 3.546, and I'm just going to drop that 0 because it does not matter. Now, here's the very, very important part to remember. We are dealing with money. When you're dealing with tips, you're dealing with money. You cannot have 3 decimals or 3 digits after the decimal when you're dealing with money. So you have to look at this very last digit. If it is higher than 5, if it's 5 or higher, then you round this number up. But if it is lower than 5, so 4 and below, it stays the same. In this case, our 6 is higher than 5, so you're going to round this 4 up to a 5. So your final answer, your tip that you would leave, would end up being $3.55. Okay. So remember, you will be getting decimal or 3 digits after the decimal with most of these answers. So you have to look at that last digit. If it is 5 or higher, you round it up, just the digit directly next to it, okay? If it is 4 or lower, then this digit next to it stays the same. Okay. Excuse me. So that is the first example. Let's go down to our second example. So our total bill is $151. I'm going to go ahead and write that out. 42 cents. And our tip is 20. Now remember, we have to change this this percentage to a decimal. So this is a whole number. You move your decimal to the left 2 places. You get 0.20. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by hand. But you guys, like I said, are welcome to use a calculator. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So we have to carry that 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Now we're going to add all this up. 0, 4, 8, 2, 0, 3. So this is what we get. Now we have to add those decimals. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 digits that are behind decimal points in the problem. So that's how many spaces we have to move over with our decimal. So starting at the very, very end, we have to move over 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I'm going to write out this answer over here again, just like I did up here. 30 decimal 284, and then I am going to drop that 0 because it really does not matter here. The 0 is just kind of like a placeholder. So we again cannot have 3 digits after the decimal because we are dealing with money. So we look at this last digit, 4. If it is 5 or higher, you round this next digit up. If it is 4 or lower, it stays the same. This is a 4, so this is going to stay the same, which means that you just drop the 4. So your tip would be $30.28. Okay, so that is the long way. You can do that with any percent that I throw at you. You can do 22% exactly. You want to be really, really precise with your tip. You can do that. As long as you change that percent to a decimal and you multiply, you can put it in your calculator or do it by hand just like I did. You will be fine. You'll get the right answer. Excuse me. So that is how you do it the long way. But there is a shortcut. And if you remember, I said at the beginning, you can only use this with numbers in the tens place. Now, typically when you're tipping, this is just some extra advice, not math related. When you tip at a restaurant, you typically tip somewhere between 15 and 20 to 25%. But if they're really, really, really good, if they're a really awesome waiter, or maybe it's your brother that's waiting on you guys at a restaurant, you might want to tip them 30 or 40% just to be nice and be a kind person. But typically, you see people tipping anywhere between 10 and 25%. So that's just a little extra tip there for you. But here's the shortcut. So if you have a tip in the tens place, all you got to do, look at your bill. I'm going to rewrite it down here. 23.75. If I want to tip 10%, all you have to do is move your decimal over 1 place. And then you get 2.375. And then we're back to the situation like we were over here. We've got 3 digits after the decimal. So all you have to do is look at that last digit. 5 or higher, round up. 4 or lower, stay the same. So we're actually going to round up. So our answer ends up being, our tip is $2.50. 38 cents. When it is 10%, now this trick only works with 10%. If you were tipping 10%, look at your bill, move the decimal over one time, and then you just got to worry about your rounding in the back, okay? Because if we scoot back over here to the long way, let's just check it out for a second. Look at our total bill, and look what our tip ended up being. Now, we had some rounding issues, okay? We had some rounding. But if I move this over one, we would get 3.546, which is exactly what happened right here. And we were looking for 10%. So that's why this trick works. All you're doing is moving the decimal over one space to the left, and that would give you a 10% tip. But what about 20% or 30%? Okay. You went to a restaurant and the service was awesome and your bill was only $23. You figured out 10%, but you're like, no, that's not enough. That's not enough. I really want to give them 20%. They were awesome, so how would I figure out 20%? Well, you take what this 10% is, so 2.38, and you just double it, because 10 doubled is 20, so 10 doubled would give me what 20% is, okay? So if you multiply that out, 8 times 2, 16, 6 plus 1 is 7, 4. All right, look, see how many spaces after the decimal you have? That's 2, so you bring it over 2 times. So your tip here for 20% on this same bill, you just figured out, is $4.76. All right, you may be asking, what if the service is phenomenal? You've never, ever had a waitress this good, ever, and she's amazing, and she, would never even let your drink get half empty before she would come over and refill it with all the Dr. Pepper that you could ever imagine. So, we go back to our 10%. Let's say we want to tip 30. Go back to your 10%. And remember, we got that by moving the decimal over one place to the left. And then all you got to do is triple it. So here for 20%, we would double it. For 30%, you would triple. So you're going to multiply it out. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Check your digits after the decimal. There's 2, so you're going to move it over 2 times. And now, if you were to tip 30%, you would tip $7.14. So the shortcut's pretty easy. But remember, it only works when we're dealing with percents in the tens place. If you want to tip something different, like if you ask your mom or dad or whoever, hey, can I calculate the tip? And they say, yeah, okay, I want to leave 25%. You would be better off doing the long way. But remember, I said you can use a calculator. As long as you remember, you have to move your decimal over with the percent. You have to change that percent into a decimal. If you were to multiply 35.46 times 10, that would give you some crazy number in the 300s. And you don't want to tip 300? No. Nobody's that good. I'm not even that good. So, you need to make sure you remember to move your decimal over and then multiply by the total bill. And that would work for any percent. Doesn't have to be an even or in the tens place. But that is today's lesson.